We got audio. Alright, we're live whenever you want to count them down.
Alright, let's get the race started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright everybody, welcome to the Super Metroid portion of the event. Tonight you're going to be seeing an any percent race between Popplars and FreyasSpirit. Both runners have been doing a really excellent job with the game. I know both of them are fairly new to it and have moved their times down very quickly, so you're in for a treat tonight. My name is Kip. I'll be doing the commentary for tonight's portion. And just right off the bat, on behalf of the Super Metroid community, just want to say thank you to everybody associated with Winter Pride for having our race in the event. We're very excited to showcase our runner skills. So the first thing you're going to see here is actually in this particular run, this is Ridley. He will be the fourth main boss that the runners will fight against, but it's pretty neat that you get to see him early in the game. So I know a lot of people are familiar with Super Metroid, and the general premise is you have the baby Metroid that has been stolen, and now Samus will be making her way to go try to find that, to see, you know, try to rescue it, so to speak. And so this here is called Series Station, where you get your sort of first traditional countdown of the game. Metroid games are known for having these sequences where something will self-destruct, and this is not the last time we'll see that in this run. So here they are entering the last room, pulling off a wall jump and then a few ledge grabs up to the elevator. And now I think I'm going to pause for a moment. I think we have a donation to read.
Hello everyone, I have a donation that was made a little bit ago and then a newer one. So we have $100 from Freyas that says, towards Popplars saving exactly one Edacoon and leaving the rest of the animals to die. And then we have $5 from Fruit Bat Sal that says, good luck Freyas and Popplars, kill the animals.
Really nice to get some kill the animals love for this race. Save the frames, kill the animals. Okay, so now we see this is where the sort of like real beginning of the run starts, now that they've made their way at a series. I'm going to be trying to explain as best I can some of the tech that everyone's going to see in the game. There's, you know, with any percent, obviously with it being any percent, you can kind of do whatever you want. You have some options for, you know, how many items to get in terms of missiles or super missiles or power bombs. But generally speaking, both runners will probably get roughly the same amount. There might be like a small variation on some of the minor items they get, but they're probably going to get the exact same major items in their old route run. The reason we call this old route is because it was the route used for the longest time to beat the game as fast as possible without any major glitches. But then a few years ago, there was a new route that we just simply refer to as new route that actually goes in a different boss order than sort of what you would assume is the intended route based on the G4 statue. So here you're going to see the first item, very iconic morphing ball for Samus. And one thing you also got to see, Freyas pulled off a move a minute ago in the climb room called a moonfall. That's actually a very new technique. It was only discovered this summer, I think around June, and people started incorporating it into their runs. It basically causes you to be able to pick up more fall speed. I think you get like uncapped fall speed. So you'll see that be used in just a few spots, saves a few seconds in certain rooms. So now they've got their first missile pack, and they're gonna head up, and what you'll see is, you know, the planet will now be awake, and you'll see regular enemies, and they'll head back to the first kind of major room of the run called the Climb. And the really interesting thing about Super Metroid, for those of you that might not be familiar with it as a speedrun, is it's a really tech-heavy game. I can't really think of another 2D platformer, especially like in the 16-bit era, that has as much depth and technique. So here, this room right here is one of the most tech-heavy in the game and sort of requires the most. You'll notice that the two are doing different climbs. Popplars is doing the more traditional wall climb. So she's wall jumping up on the side and then occasionally stopping to shoot up and kill some of the pirates. Whereas Freyas is choosing to do what is known as the behemoth climb, where you use ledge grabs to hit those different platforms all the way up. So far, both runners very close together. We see our first kind of mock ball right there by Popplars. Freyas doing the same. You'll see mock balls be utilized. It's considered a minor glitch. What a mock ball will allow you to do is to basically turn into a ball, like you'll jump and turn into a ball as you land. And what it allows you to do is maintain like run speed. And so that is considered a minor glitch and will be used in a few spots to sequence break, which we'll come up to in just a moment. So here we have our first fight of the game. This is the first mini boss, Bomb Terizo. So you get the bombs and then he decides to stand up and start attacking. So you'll notice that they're using a combination of regular beam shots and then some missile usage to kill him as fast as possible. So it looks like we got Popplars with a slight lead here. And now both runners will head back out. And here you're going to see them attempt a bit of a tricky move called the Alcatraz. Popplars nailed it first try there. Freyas as well. Excellent job by both. They basically used a wall jump, instantaneously turning into a morph ball to get through that little crevice, which saves somewhere around 7 or 8 seconds from going the opposite direction using your bombs to get out. Here you'll notice that the runners are tanking some damage. They take 20 damage per pirate, but they can use their invulnerable frames. Looks like Freyas is choosing not to do that, but Popplars chose to use her iframes to get through there a little bit faster, and that's not usually going to be a big deal unless some really unfortunate things happen down here. Typically, she won't really be in danger of running out of energy until she comes across another E-tank here shortly. So here's the first kind of really major moment of the game. She's going to use a mock ball. There it goes. To sequence break right here. Typically in the traditional game, you need to have speed booster to get by that. And it looks like Freyas has done the same thing. So they were able to get under those gates. If they had just jumped up there and ran underneath, they wouldn't have been able to get there. And now they are rewarded with a super missile pack. And this super missile pack is not supposed to be the first super missile pack that a runner gets in the game. The first super missile pack that's sort of intended is guarded by a mini boss called Spore Spawn, and that boss is out of the way, takes quite a bit of time to kill, and so this is like the first sort of mandatory trick that a runner has to know how to do and able to move at a pretty quick pace in the game. So great job by both runners here. So Popplars now grabbing another missile pack and heading down to grab Charge Beam, which for anybody in the audience right now who happens to be familiar with the recent randomizer tournament, I think Charge Beam is probably the beam that is the most underrated. A lot of times people don't realize how powerful it is until they try to do a run without it. So they'll be utilizing Charge Beam in many, many rooms and in many circumstances later on down the line. It also will add to the most damage they can do in the game when they stack their beams later on, and they'll use that Charge Beam to kill Ridley and Mother Brain. So here we go, Freyas now pulling off another great mock ball to get down the green hills a lot quicker. And basically at this point, you're going to see both of the runners head down instead of up. This is the moment, this is called Red Tower, and this is the moment where in an old route run, you would head down to head straight to Kraid, who would be the traditional first boss. Some of the harder routes for new route, for example, would go up right there and try to go to Fantoon first in the wreck ship, which is very dangerous. But both of these runners will be doing an old route here. Here's another moment that I guess you could consider this somewhat of a minor sequence break, It's a little bit easier in this moment to get up to that platform with high jump boots, which the runners will get in a moment. But as you can see, you can utilize a well-timed wall jump to get up there a little bit sooner. And so now they're in Kraid's lair. Freyas also doing that wall jump first try. Excellent. Popplars in the key hunter room. Those things can be quite troll, especially if they start knocking you back. We'll see that again as the runners try to exit. And now one of the most famous sort of regular enemies in the game. You barely even got to see him there. Mini Kraid, which I believe his actual real name is Sklade. Dropped a lot of super missiles for both runners. And now both runners are going to attempt to get what is called the Kraid quick kill. Through a series of beam attacks, depending on method, and missile attacks, you can actually stop Kraid from standing up. Let's see if Popplars will pull it off here. Excellent job by Popplars. Kraid is not allowed to stand up. And Freyas now will attempt the same thing. Another excellent job. Both runners getting the Kraid quick kill on the first try, so there will not be any prom happening tonight for Kraid. He tried to get in, but was quickly kicked out. And now, both runners just picked up an item called Various Suit, which you'll notice has now turned Samus, the color scheme, into orange, and added some width to like the shoulder areas and stuff like that. What Various Suit will allow the runners to do is basically go into heated areas. Pretty soon they're going to head to Norway to start what's called like the Norway cleanup. Or excuse me, Norway, the Norfair cleanup. I'm sorry, I refer to Norfair as Norway in some of my splits, so sometimes I accidentally mispronounce. But Norfair, the first cleanup is a run through several heated areas. And basically, with the Various Suit, they won't take damage. There are actually some categories that require heated runs. For example, there's a reverse boss order in which you would actually kill Ridley first, who's down in Lower Norfair. And to get to him, you wouldn't be able to have Varia because you would have to kill Kraid to get that. So there is actually some ways to get through these areas without Varia, but this is definitely the easiest and fastest way. So they're going to head down to Norfair and basically collect high jump boots, which is my personal favorite item of the game, and another E-tank, and then they'll make their way to the right to pick up Wave Beam and Speed Booster before they head back up to start their way to the wrecked ship to fight Fantoon. So this is actually a pretty movement-heavy section. And as we can see, Popplars grabbing high jump boots here. Best item in the game. There are some out there that are on the side of Spring Ball being the best. Freyas also grabbing high jump boots. And here's another one of those E-tanks that they will grab that will help them out. There's many different ways to run this category. You know, given the fact that it's called any %, that means, you know, you get whatever items you feel comfortable with that will help you complete the game. The minimum number of E-tanks required to do an any % no major glitches run is actually 3. The reason for that is because when the runners get to Mother Brain near the end, Mother Brain 2, once she is defeated, will hit Samus with an unstoppable, unskippable beam called the Rainbow Beam typically, and it does 300 damage. So basically, you have to have at least 3 energy tanks to go with the 99 health that you originally start with so that you can survive that attack. And however, there are a lot of runners that will get more than that, just for safety or more comfort in different areas of the run. Even if you're only running with 3, there's several different places where danger can happen. Both runners doing a really good job here with Bubble Mountain. This is the big green room here. This is actually kind of one of those rooms that is really difficult for early runners, or I guess runners that are new to the game. And both runners did a great job here, getting up there in the first try. And now we have Speed Booster. So it looks like both runners currently have the 3 E-tank minimum, but I'm confident we'll see them pick up more. At least 4 is usually the number that a lot of runners will get, and sometimes people will get 5 or even 6. So you just got to see Popplars there run at full speed. Speed Booster is probably, I guess arguably in this particular run, the source of some of the more complex techniques that you can use in this game, or in this run. If you run for a long enough distance, you'll get, you know, not only a massive amount of speed, but you will turn blue. And when you're blue, you can actually kind of do a variety of different things like storing shine sparks and things like that, which you'll see them utilize a little bit later. But actually, it's possible to get to the full, I guess, charge for the speed booster in less time if you know how to do what we refer to as the tapping method. Basically, the game will check, and there's a lot of people in chat, by the way, that are very, very experienced runners of the game that can, you know, answer some of these questions or make comments or add commentary to some of these techniques. So feel free to add. But basically, the game will check on different frames to see if the speed button, or the dash button, excuse me, is pressed. And if you happen to tap on those frames, the dash button, you can actually make the game think that you're holding the button, and you can actually not run quite as far with your speed. So basically, you can end up running a shorter distance and still get the speed boost, which will allow you to do some things if you're able to execute that in a small amount of space. So here we see Popplars now making her way out to Business Center, and she is going to head up, get on the elevator, and then start making her way out of Brinstar to try to go to the wreck ship. FreyasSpirit coming up just shortly behind. Now they are entering Business Center, doing a quick farm of the gamers here. Ooh, got some really good drops with some super missiles there. And now we're basically seeing less than a 10-second difference between the runners. So this is a really good, fun race so far. Okay, looks like Freyas is going to go for the strat called the Alpha Spark. Almost got it. The way that strat works is you'll open that door and then try to spark through to go through this room right here, as well as you know, the previous one halfway through. But just didn't quite have it. It was a little early on the spark and bonked the door, but still a good attempt. Here is Red Tower. This is actually one of the harder rooms for beginning runners to manipulate. You basically have a block up there that you have to shoot out, but it's on a timer. Freyas managed to get up on the first try. Popplars, there we go, second try gets up there. But as you can see, if you ever miss it and you fall back down, those rippers can really kind of impede you and cause you to lose some time. So Freyas now with a slight lead, and both runners are now heading into the sort of what we refer to as the Alpha Power Bomb room. This is the first and only power bomb pack that runners will typically get. It is pretty much mandatory. You got to have power bombs to open certain doors and, you know, blast through certain blocks. So here you'll see them drop one up here to open this orange door right here. But they're not actually going to go back through that orange door. They're just dropping the power bomb so that when they come back down this way after killing Fantoon, they will not have to actually drop a power bomb. Then it's actually faster to drop it on your way out. So Popplars and FreyasSpirit, man, the sync is real. We're talking about maybe 2 to 3 second difference between the runners at the moment. And once again, you'll see another power bomb being dropped here to open that orange door, so they do not have to open that on the way back down. And now we're going to see that short charging method I was referring to earlier. All right, Freyas, excellent. Got the shine spark, pressed down, stored it, and then did a spark over the moat missiles. Popplars did as well, and now the second one that's mandatory here, since the runners do not get grapple beam, grapple beam is sort of the, I guess, intended way to get across this section. But here, both runners are utilizing their speed booster. Wow, look how close this race is. Wow, this is really exciting. So now we're going to get to see pretty much what most runners of the game consider to be sort of the most troll boss. This is Phantoon that we're going to be coming up on. And what Phantoon's basically like a ghost, and he has random patterns. He can give you in each round either a slow pattern, a mid pattern, or a fast pattern. So a lot of times, you know, especially if you're on a PB run, it can kind of be dictated a little bit by how lucky you get with Phantoon's pattern. So this is a really big RNG moment. Both runners are going to try to utilize not only missiles, but also a special beam attack called an X Factor. So here's Popplars now. Ooh, very nice. Getting all 4 of the X Factor beams on a fast. Looks like Freyas was not quite as lucky in getting a fast, but also getting the full X Factor. Each one of those particles in the X Factor does 300 damage, and Phantoon only has 2,500 damage, so that's 1,200 damage that they're able to do in that one little move, which is enough to do close to half of the total health. And then Poplar's cleaning it up on top with a few missiles and a super, which does 600 damage. Freyas doing the same thing. Excellent fights by both runners. That was a lot of fun to watch. And one interesting thing is that the super missile normally does 300 damage. But against certain enemies and certain bosses, it actually does double, and Phantoon is one of those bosses. If you hit Phantoon with a super missile, you do 600 damage, which sounds great because that's about a quarter of his health. But the problem is that if you do not kill Phantoon with that super missile, he will go into an enrage phase, which takes, I can't remember the exact number, I think it's about 18 seconds or so, in which you can't attack. So none of the runners want to enrage Phantoon. It eats up a lot of time, and both runners did a great job here. And now they're grabbing their second and typically final super missile pack of the run. I'll talk a little bit about the ammo management and counts later when we get further into the run. There's a very specific amount that you have to get at minimum to defeat Mother Brain 1, which we'll see at the end. And getting at least 2 super missile packs is mandatory for an 80% no major glitches run. Poplar's getting ready for, ooh, almost. Freyas is now going for the Attic Spark and nails it. Excellent. That's a really cool looking technique there where you shine spark across the entire attic. It allows you to not only move quickly but kill every enemy, and also saves on ammo. Popplars was unfortunately a little too high on her attempt, but was able to clean up the rest of the enemies nicely. You have to kill every enemy in certain rooms where you have a door that's a metal door. And in that particular room, you cannot continue without killing all of the enemies. So good to see both of them do that. And now we're going to enter what can be a bit of a scary room. This is the bowling room that has a bunch of spikes in it. Poplar's excellent job with the first jump. And getting across in 3, no problem. Freyas doing a really nice shine spark method there to get across the room, and look how close the runners are here. Unbelievable. That room can be scary because those spikes will do, I believe, 30 damage to a Various suit, Samus, and 60 if you do not have Various. So that's another reason why it's a bit of a tough room in New Route, because in New Route you have to do that without the Various suit. And now, grabbing in the traditional game here, Gravity Suit is incredibly powerful, offers not only some defensive properties and some protection against heat, but also the ability to move through water. One thing that a lot of people will ask when they're first learning about the game is, like, if Gravity is so powerful, then why do you even get Varia? You know, why not skip Varia? The Rainbow Beam that I referred to earlier in the run, that Mother Brain is gonna, hit the runners with, that does 300 damage and you can't avoid it. It actually checks for Varia, and if Samus has Varia on, it will do 300 damage. If Varia is not on, even if Gravity is, it will do 600, which would require way more tanks. So both, in this particular run, both suits are required. Man, I'm having a blast with this. This is amazing that the runners are so close. I mean, we're less than 5 seconds apart for the last, probably 5 minutes or so of the run. So here, grabbing a little bit of extra health and supers, those cack attacks will drop super missiles like, I think, 99.6 or something % of the time. And then if they don't drop supers, they'll drop large health, which gives back 20. So both runners doing just a little bit of farming through the Hellway and prior to get themselves ready for their trip into Meridia. What you just noticed that Freyas and Popplars are both doing, they just equipped the power bomb, even though they're not actually going to use it just yet. They're equipping it in advance because they know they don't need any missiles or supers to fire in the next few rooms. And unfortunately, Freyas getting grabbed there by the Yapping Maw. But they're heading to the tube, which is where Freyas is entering right now. And you have to drop a power bomb to break that glass to head into Meridia. So that's why they went ahead and sort of queued up that power bomb so they wouldn't have to have like more inputs when they entered that room. It's just a little bit faster. Oh, wow. Almost a complete sync again. All right, now they're in this room is called Fish Tank. This one's pretty tough. If you can go fast enough, you can get by that little fish before he gets in your way. But if not, you kind of have to wait. So now we get another good use of the Shine Spark up Mount Everest here. Both runners do an excellent job with that. And coming up here shortly is going to be another mini boss. So far, we've only seen basically Bomb Terizo in terms of mini bosses. So Botwoon is one of those mini bosses that is not skipped in the No Major Glitches category. And I think a lot of runners would agree that Botwoon is not overly fun to deal with. He's a bit of a troll. I believe both runners are going to attempt to use another X Factor strat here, where they're going to try to time all 4 of the particles to hit Botwoon's head as it comes out of the hole. Oh, it looks like Popplars is electing not to. Freyas just barely missed. The problem with missing an X Factor is you then have to wait for the rest of the particles to land before you can shoot again. So it requires 10 super missiles to kill Botwoon. A properly timed X Factor will do 4 of those supers, so then you can kill him with 6. And then if you happen to miss some of them, he's got a really trolly hitbox. If you happen to miss, you kind of have to get over to the left side and just start charging some shots and hope to hit him in some of his patterns, which is what Popplars is doing at the moment. Here on Freyas' screen, grabbing another E-Tank, so this will be the 4th one of the run. This one is very strategically placed and strategically got or picked up by most runners, really, no matter how many tanks you're going to get, because that will refill the runner to full energy prior to the next major boss fight, which is going to be Dragon. And both of the runners are going to be utilizing a method called Shine Sparking, which you've already seen a little bit of. They're going to try to Shine Spark through Dragon to do some damage, which Dragon is the only major boss that you'll use in the game for this run where you can use that method to do damage. And so since Shine Sparking takes damage away from Samus, it's very important to have full health or as close to full as possible. So it's a really great place to pick up an E-Tank, and really convenient that it's located there. Unfortunately, Freyas only has 1 super, which means that she's, or they are going to have to basically use regular missiles on the boss door right there. The boss door can be killed with either 1 super missile or 3 regular missiles. And obviously, shooting only 1 super is a little bit faster, but unfortunately, Freyas did not have enough supers, so had to spend a few extra seconds using those regular missiles there. 1 is mandatory to get in that green door, so let's see how Freyas sets up for this opening Shine Spark with an X Factor to do some damage to Dragon. Oh, unfortunately, our first Goop Spark of the day. Alright, there we go. I'm keeping count of the number of goop sparks. Apparently there's a bet between Freyas and Popplars about the number of goop sparks, and it will relate directly to the number of donation, or the amount of donation money. Okay, so Poplar's getting ready for the opening X Factor as well. And gets the spark quite well. Looks like Freyas is now out of ammo. Gonna use one more shine spark. Unfortunately, another goop spark. We call that a goop spark. Popplars with a really nice Dragon there. Just made up a ton of time. Wow, that was very, very impressive. Okay, looks like Freyas has now cleaned up Dragon as well, which is nice to see. So now Dragon's baby will babies will come out and take the corpse away. They'll grab some items and then grab Space Jump. Space Jump is a really great item. It is, interestingly enough, actually skipped in what is referred to as the new route. Space Jump, I think most people that have played a Super Metroid, or I guess any Metroid kind of 2D game other than the originals, they're probably familiar with this item. It allows you to infinitely basically jump through the air as long as you get your inputs at the right time. But it can be a little trolly at times and cause you to fall. Since these runners are doing Dragon third and not last, they actually pick up Space Jump, which will save some time over the course of the run. However, in New Route, Dragon is actually the last boss killed, and grabbing Space Jump is actually slower than just, you know, using other methods to escape. In particular, a blue suit to basically, like, you can store a shine spark and go across the top of that Coliseum horizontal room. So you'll see the old route runners pick up Space Jump, but it's actually skipped a new route. So now here's another main difference between new route and old route. Both runners are going to head up to Plasma. They're going to pick up the Plasma Beam, which is the strongest beam in the game. By itself, basically, if you combine it with Wave and Ice, and on a regular shot, it does 300 damage. And so when you charge a beam, the charge shot actually does 3 times the amount of damage as to whatever beam combination you have. So by having Plasma, Wave, and then Ice here shortly, which they'll pick up in a few minutes, the runners are doing 900 damage per charge shot, which is how you can keep track of how much damage they've done to Ridley and Mother Brain. So Popplars now with the slight lead here. About one room, maybe about a room and a half ahead of Freyas. What you're going to see now is both runners head basically down this tube over here, and then they're going to make their way back to Norfair, pick up the Ice Beam, and then make their way down to the lower Norfair, which is, you know, especially in old route, and in particular for newer runners, I would say probably the most dangerous portion of the run in terms of, you know, I guess potential to die. So this is going to be a really tough and interesting segment, but it's really cool that they're only a few rooms apart here. Very close race so far. Yeah, we have some people in the chat referring to that horizontal green door as the toilet bowl. There's a strat where you can run called the toilet bowl strat, where you try to hit the door with a super missile while running. It's pretty tight window, but it's pretty awesome when you get it. And now you're going to notice both runners are going to head right down here. They skipped Ice Beam earlier. We're back in Business Center again, and they skipped Ice Beam earlier because if you get Ice Beam in the early parts of the run, you have to de-equip it to be able to use X Factors, which you want to use for, you know, Botwoon and Dragon. So they skipped it, and now they're going to pick it up here so they never have to de-equip it again. And not only will it add damage to their beam for right now, later on it's what will help them kill Metroids. You have to freeze the Metroids to be able to kill them. The only other method that you can use is power bombing them, but in this particular run, you will not see runners do that. So now I'm curious to see, there's actually 2 different routes that a runner can take. This is one of the only places in Old Route where a route can diverge for a short time. Looks like Popplars is going to take what I like to lovingly refer to as the southern route, which is the route that I like to take. Looks like Freyas will be doing the exact same thing. So they're going to power bomb, head down here. It's a little bit of a backtrack to the left, but where you make up some time versus going back to Business Center is this long room right here. They have, they're able to run at full speed, and then if you get this jump, let's see if Poplar's got it. Very nice. Can maintain maximum run speed through the space jumps through that room. Really save some time. Then Poplar's using another method to maintain that run speed to get through this long room at a faster pace than normal as well. So that's how you can sort of save some time on this particular portion of the route versus going in the top way. Excellent job. So now, Popplars will space jump up to the entrance to Lower Norfair here, which is, I always thought when I was, especially when I was a kid, that was one of the cooler rooms because, you know, you get basically the dragon's mouth there, looks like Ridley. So I always found that very intimidating looking. And now we're into my favorite portion of the game. In my opinion, the best music of the game as well, very sinister. We have Lower Norfair, and we will see both runners make their way to the very bottom room of Lower Norfair to try to kill Ridley, and then go from there. Okay, so there's a strat here that you can use in the room that Popplars is in right now called Fast Pillars, where you do a short charge Shine Spark. Looks like Freyas is setting up to attempt it. It is not a mandatory move. If you don't get it though, you have to use 2. Oh, there we go. Oh, another Goop Spark, unfortunately. If you don't get that strat, you have to drop 2 different power bombs up against those walls. And now Popplars is in the worst room in the game. Excellent job of freezing one of those pirates and using it to jump up through the middle of the room there. Looks like Freyas is now in the worst room in the game as well, using a similar strat, freezing the pirate, dropping a power bomb to clear out those blocks up there, and then wall and space jumping up there. Very nicely done. Popplars in the amphitheater, very fortunately avoiding any space jump mishaps. This is actually a room where you can get into a bit of trouble if space jump fails on you. Looks like Freyas is managing to do the same. Nicely done. Okay. And what you just saw Popplars do, because and Freyas will have to do the same thing, there's a certain number of power bombs that you have to use down here without having to get an extra pack, and since neither runner got the fast pillar strategy, which saves some power bombs, they have to use regular bombs on that first, where Freyas is right here. She charged her beam, got into ball form, that drops 5 different bombs and helps to go a little bit faster through those little blocks that you have to get through. So here's a portion now. This is called Wasteland. Popplars is cleaning it up. Freyas is in the middle of it right now. Kind of a dangerous room. And entering now the Metal Pirates room. This is the only part of the run where you see these enemies. And Popplars doing a really nice job. Almost got the double, I guess the double shot, so to speak. And killing those pirates. They're only vulnerable when they turn yellow. So you have to really time your charge shots and sort of manipulate their movement. Popplars in an excellent health situation, both runners opting not to get the Fire Flea E-Tank, so they will both fight Ridley with 4 E-Tanks. Now here, Ridley has 18,000 health. You will notice that the runners will elect to, or at least usually in Old Route, to hit Ridley with 20 charge shots, because each charge shot does 900 damage, so it takes 20 shots. You can tell that you've hit the 11th shot after he turns pink. So now Popplars has 9 shots left. 2, 3, 4, 5. Almost 6, 7. Oh, and now he's pogoing a little bit, okay. And also Freyas is fighting him as well. You'll notice that they're trying to manipulate the swooping here. Okay, so Popplars did enough damage and then got into position to let Ridley just go ahead and grab her. And that will end the fight. Excellent job. Always great to see runners get past Ridley. Ridley can be a bit of a troll. Especially with newer runners, they'll die to Ridley fairly often, so that's really good to see them get past it. Looks like Popplars is going to opt to not grab the Ridley E-Tank, so now has, only half the amount of her health to escape. And this can actually be a very dangerous escape. Every one of these creatures, or at least most of them, do about 50 damage. And so each time you get hit, it takes half of an E-Tank. And there are several places where you can definitely die. So hopefully she'll be careful and make it out okay and use her plasma shot to kill a lot of things. Freyas opting to grab that Ridley E-Tank. So that not only gives her more health, but it actually refills her health. So Popplars is saving time by not getting the E-Tank, but it will only work out if she's able to avoid dying on the way out. So I'm actually getting kind of nervous. This is a very tough spot to be in. Technically, it's possible if she wanted to play it safe, she could just charge shot these key hunters, which is a little bit slower, but very safe. And then she could grab the Firefleet E-Tank on the way out. We'll see if she opts to do that or not. Most of these enemies take 2 charge shots, but the way plasma works, it has a piercing property. And basically, if you fire it with the right timing and in the right area, you can actually do 2 hits at once. Oh, looks like Popplars is going to skip that E-Tank and head towards, here in just a minute, one of the scarier rooms, especially when you're escaping here. We call it the Three Musketeers room. And there's going to be 3 key hunters in a row that can block the runner's way out. I assume she will probably elect to play it fairly safe and just charge shot them from beneath. Yeah, it looks like that's what she's going to do. So no problems there. And that will, even though that's a little bit slower, it's much safer. One faster option that the runners have is that sometimes with plasma, you can run through an enemy and shoot them while you're running through them. And it actually gives the enemy some invulnerable frames, and it allows you to basically run through them without getting hit. But I really like the idea there that Popplars was going to play it on the more conservative side, especially in a race scenario. I think that was a good choice. So now we see Freyas in the same room, and since she has a lot of health, or excuse me, since they have a lot of health, opting to just kind of be way more aggressive, you'll notice that they actually managed to clip through the 2nd and 3rd key hunter successfully, which was excellent. Unfortunately, though, at the end, didn't quite make it up in time for the 3rd key hunter to not backtrack and do some damage. But still, with the amount of health that Freyas had there, not really a problem at all. So they're easily through the sort of dangerous section there. And now both runners will be headed up to basically make their way to the top of Criteria to head to Torian for the final segment of the game. So as you can see, the route here that Popplars is taking is actually to head back through Meridia in the same direction that she came originally. And instead, however, this is the Mount Everest room. Instead of going to the right, like she's heading to Botwoon, she's instead going to head straight up here and go through this door, which will then put her near the elevator that leads to Wrecked Ship. One cool thing you'll notice is Space Jump actually has different, I guess, properties when in water. And since Meridia is filled with water, you'll notice that they can space jump much faster, and it's almost kind of like you can just spam the jump button and space jump will continue to work. You won't be able to see that happen, or that's not really possible in the same kind of speed in the normal air. So that's one good section to kind of utilize those properties and move a little bit faster. And now you can see that Popplars has just run straight by the ship there. Ooh, Ooh, very nice. Almost got the beautiful speed spin jump all the way through the room there. When you have, you know, like a charge like that set up, or when you get the, you know, the full speed and you have the blue trailing Samus, you actually can break through certain blocks. And had Popplars been able to do that one final space jump there, she would have been able to get through that final block. So now Popplars is the first one. Looks like Freyas, yeah, exactly. Freyas just did what I mentioned. Saves a little bit of time. Excellent move. Nicely done. Popplars is the first one to G4, which stands for Golden 4. That's the Golden 4 statues, and you can see that now that all 4 of the major bosses are dying, or I guess, you know, turning to gray, and that will open the path to Torian. So this is a cutscene that takes a few minutes, and we're going to turn it over to Allie to do some donations. Absolutely, thank you. And thank you to everybody for donating. I heard a lot of names that I recognize. Big shout out to the Super Metroid community. Just want to say, while, you know, Popplars here is using the Ice Beam to freeze the Metroids and then either hit them with 5 regular missiles or 1 super. You got to kill every Metroid in every room to open the next door. But just want to say a big shout out to everybody in the Super Metroid community. I can't stress enough how many wonderful, really awesome, cool, helpful people there are. Very positive experience for me being a runner in the community, and it's really cool to see everybody show up and support our runners. And after this, 2 of our absolutely tip-top notch runners, like some of our more elite runners in the game who've been playing for a long time, Elminster RTA and Fuzda, will be doing a run of a ROM hack called Z Factor. So stick around for that. That will also be excellent. So let me try to explain real quick. Popplars is in a really good situation, okay? I mentioned earlier in the run that the amount of ammo in terms of regular missiles and super missiles ends up becoming very important. Unfortunately, if we look at Freyas' screen, 4 super missiles is not going to be enough to finish the game. Basically, every runner is trying to get at least 9 or 10 super missiles as they enter Mother Brain 1's room. And here it looked like Popplars was attempting a bit of a baby skip, and unfortunately wasn't able to get it. But you'll notice that Popplars has 9 supers, and I would assume she's going to elect to probably use 5 of her regular missiles to open the first red door down here, and then there's a refill station in the next room. But basically, you have to have a certain amount of damage. There we go. She's doing it now. You have to have a certain amount of damage in regular missiles and supers to actually kill Mother Brain Part 1. And if you don't have enough, you will actually soft lock yourself. Ooh, Freyas just got the excellent drops there. She went, or excuse me, they went from 6 to 10 supers. So that means that basically they were able to get insane drops from 2 of those Metroids to get to full supers, which will then allow them to kind of continue on without having to do any kind of backtracking to kill more Metroids. So here, Popplars entering with, she's going to be entering Mother Brain 1 with 20 and 7. The easiest way to explain this in sort of a quick way would be that each super does 300 damage and each regular missile does 100. So after 6 regular missiles, you got to do 3,000 damage to Mother Brain. So with 7 supers, that's 2,100, and then after that, 9 more missiles will be needed. Popplars handled it with no problem. Gets to the cut scene for Mother Brain Part 2. That's actually a section where if you miss too many missiles or something bad happens, you can actually soft lock. So good to see Popplars get through that. Okay, now Popplars is currently fighting Mother Brain Part 2. Identical amounts of health to Ridley, 18,000. So that means another 20 charge shots. Once Popplars gets to 16 charge shots, Mother Brain, there we go. Mother Brain enters the portion, the final sort of portion where she will start to fire off those catch-up beams, which do at least 1 E-tank's worth of damage, so the runners have to be careful. Popplars managed that quite well, and now damages herself down to 3 E-tanks so that she can take the rainbow beam, survive, and go immediately into the next cutscene. So now we've got Freyas. They are setting up for the same thing, gonna try to use, ooh, unfortunately had one of the supers sniped right there by the turrets, which is a concern, but the good news is that since Freyas had extra supers, since they had some extra missiles, they were able to make up for that 300 lost damage without soft locking. So excellent job there. I'm really glad to see that that did not occur. So now Freyas will begin their fight with Mother Brain 2, another 20 charge shots, and we will see the rainbow beam. So once again, after 16, we'll see the catch-up phase. But Freyas has an extra E-tank here. So typically, with this number of E-tanks, not going to typically be a problem. Could probably have even tanked a catch-up there and been okay. So good job by both of them. And it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, I have just gotten the word that there has been an incentive for this run, and it looks like the runners are going to be able to, or I guess it looks like we raised enough money to where the runners are going to have to save the animals. So congratulations to everybody who was donating for Save the Animals. You have been successful. Popplars now with the rainbow beam. Just standing in the corner there and hitting Mother Brain Part 3 with as many shots as possible. And that will end Mother Brain's reign. Start the self-destruct timer, and she will try to start making her way out to the ship. Freyas doing a really nice job with Mother Brain 1, didn't have any issues getting past. Now just sitting in the cutscene and getting ready to do the rainbow beam section as well. So one thing you'll see here in the escape, Popplars doing the first of a few shine sparks. So once again, speed booster being utilized there. Really cool technique. And you'll notice that Popplars still has the rainbow beam, which you'll have until the end of the run. Freyas now beginning their Mother Brain 3 segment. Also electing to just stand in the corner and fire angled up shots there. Definitely a nice way to kill Mother Brain 3. And now, Popplars getting that final, I guess, mandatory spark there. I'm not sure if Popplars will elect to spark out of the animals room or not, but this is now back to basically the beginning of the game. In Parlor here, that's what we call that room. Heading down back to the BT room, Bomb Chorizo, where the animals are. Oh, looks like Popplars is going to go for the exit. Oh, and unfortunately, Popplars made it the entire run without having a goop spark. One final chance at it and accidentally goop sparks there, which means that that's more money that will be donated. So it's definitely good that more donations will happen, but at the same time, it's humorous to kind of see that it was the very last one. Okay, and then Popplars, I think, forgot for a moment that you actually don't have to Alcatraz out there. It looks like the muscle memory kind of taken over. Runners always Alcatraz out of that spot. Popplars now making her way to the ship, and GG to Popplars, the winner of the race here for the Winter Pride event. Excellent job. And Freyas actually just pulled off a really nice behemoth spark there, getting a little bit of a diagonal spark instead of a horizontal one. So GG to Popplars. Excellent run. Freyas making their way down now to save the animals, per the donator's request. Also setting up for the Shine Spark. Let's see if we get one here. And very nice, very swag. That's always really nice to see when a runner pulls that off. And now Freyas making their way up to the ship to end the game. And congratulations to both runners. Incredibly proud of both. Excellent show. A lot of great talent and skill that was on display. A lot of great execution. I hope everyone out there enjoyed the runs. Once again, I just want to say, in particular, thank you to Popplars and Freyas for not only running and representing our community in this great event, but also asking me to be a part of the commentary. I was really honored that they asked me to participate. So I just want to once again give a big shout out to all of our friends in the Super Metroid community and everybody that is a part of this excellent event, helping to raise funds for a really excellent cause. So thank you for all the hard work. GG everybody. And once again, my name is Kip. I'm going to step away from here, and y'all have an excellent evening and a great rest of the event. Okay, everybody. So, not quite leaving just yet. Not quite leaving just yet. Gotta say, dear Force. And hold off for just another bit here. We're gonna have our second opportunity to have a dear Force. Definitely one of the most fun parts of any run. Final collection count for Popplars, 22%. Excellent job. 22% simply means 22 separate items collected. That includes major items like Morphing Ball or the suits or the beams, as well as minor items like missiles, supers, and power bombs. So 22 total items picked up for Popplars. I think we're going to see a slightly higher number for Freyas, maybe only 1% more higher due to the extra E-tank after Ridley. I think that's the only other one. So here we go one more time, everybody. Dear Force. And as we all knew, Dear Force knew, everybody. So we'll see the final count here for Freyas. %. So just that one extra E-tank was the only other extra item. So once again, everyone, GG. Hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to go follow excuse me, follow Popplars. That sounded really southern right there. Make sure to go follow Popplars and FreyasSpirit, two excellent runners of the game, excellent streams, really cool people. And on that note, I'm going to head out. See you next mission.